Hello, welcome to Now Tell Us. I'm your host, Anthony Morore. Now, this is where you come to tell us an inspiring story or highlight an issue that you're passionate about. And we have a guest today who is going to come and tell us some interesting things. You don't want to miss this. And you can find this podcast on any of your favorite platforms, uh, Audible, uh, Google Podcast, iTunes. Just for search for Now Tell Us, and you'll find us there. And please share this with your friends, and let's get to have a good time. And without taking much more time, I'm going to introduce our guest today, who is known as Robert B. Foster. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. I said
Yeah.
welcome. I'm used to being a host, so I'm used to saying welcome. So thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, and you'll tell us something about that, where you're always a host, but today you are the guest, and we are
That's
honored to have you here.
right. Good. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So now, please tell us, who is Robert B. Foster?
Ooh, that's a loaded question.
Mm.
I can answer that many ways. So who I am at my core is I'm a competitor and I'm an athlete. So whenever people ask me that question, or even on my show, when I ask people that question, they tend to give characteristics about like their careers and stuff. I'm a good leader and I'm passionate and I'm all those things too. But who I am to my core is I'm a competitor. I'm a father, and I just love to compete. I'm a thrill seeker, So
Okay.
at my core, that's who I am.
And what are you competing about? I mean, what do you compete about?
Anything really, like literally anything. But I'm into sports, so I'm 47 years old, and I still compete in track and field. I run obstacle races. I'm in a volleyball league. I'm in a softball league. And like just literally anything, no matter what it is, I play to win. So everything.
Oh, that's beautiful. I like that.
Thank
Being
you.
a competitor, or I mean, if I aim at being a competitor all my life, that's gonna be a beautiful one where I'm always ready to win and struggle and fight and come out
Yes.
winning. So that's a good one.
Thank you.
And where is Robert from?
So I was born in New York City, but I was raised in Rhode Island, and that's where I am now in Rhode Island.
Okay, tell us a bit about your childhood, if you won't mind.
So I'm the youngest of seven.
Oh.
So big old family, and being the youngest of seven, it has its ups and downs. It's good being the baby, but
Mhm.
it also sucked being last. So the bigger kids got more freedoms. Because obviously they were older, and
Mhm.
so being the younger one, I got more of mom's attention. But just growing up, that's kind of where my competitiveness kind of kicked in because we were all athletes. So we
Mhm.
all played a wide variety of sports. And I just started seeing my older siblings winning trophies and winning ribbons and medals and just all kinds of awards. And I wanted those. And so it pushed me to work for it. But the biggest thing I wanted, I was so sick of being called somebody's little brother.
Mhm.
Like I just wanted to be Rob or Robert. So
Mhm.
everywhere I went, oh, you're Monique's little brother, you're Ralph's little brother, you're Regina's little brother. I'm like, my name is Rob. It's
Okay.
like call me Rob. Like I absolutely love all of my siblings, but
Mhm.
just that was the one thing that really drove me. I was like, I want to get to the point to where I'm known as me, and not associated with my siblings.
And that's interesting because I happen to be the youngest of seven siblings.
Okay. Nice.
And I get to everything that you talk about and about and the good thing is that if you have siblings that are ahead of you, you are always striving to be the best version of any of them that you
Yes.
identify with. Now that if you're positively focused on life, and which I can see it in you.
Oh
And
yes, like my one of my older brothers, and he did track and field also, and he would write all of his best performances on white T-shirts,
mhm.
and I had a secret pad, and I wrote them all down. I was like, I'm gonna beat all this guy's efforts, like everything he does, I'm gonna beat it. So it's
Uh-huh.
like, And like I said, that's what fuels me. And even now, it's just become part of who I am. Even
Mhm,
like I love to hike, and I look for the steepest, most difficult places to go hike just because
mhm.
everything is a challenge to me. But I take it back. It stems back from that part of my childhood of just having so many competitive siblings. It just kind of naturally evolved.
Yeah, and it's good when they set the pace for you, so you can work hard and you have more strength to work
Yes.
into and come out shining. So it's
Yeah,
good.
it makes you want to practice.
Hmm.
That's the thing. I was like, again, watching my brother and my sister. She was a high jumper also, and I used to constantly just
Hmm.
watch her arm movements. She was a state champion, and
Hmm.
she's three years ahead of me, I believe, 3 or 4 years ahead of me. But I
Okay.
would just study her training habits. And
Hmm.
then just once I finally started to grow and get muscles and stuff, like I already had a good base from watching her and from watching my brother do the triple jump. So it
Hmm.
just helped me better follow in their footsteps, but then formulate my own legacy.
So how many of them are they? I mean, brothers and sisters. I
I
mean,
have four sisters, two brothers.
oh, four sisters, two brothers. Okay, that's where we differ. But anyway, let's keep moving. I've three sisters and three brothers. Okay,
Okay.
one passed on a year or
Oh
so
no.
ago, but it's okay. We are pushing on, and we thank God for everything. But let's come here. Which are your greatest triumphs in your sporting, in your
The greatest trials,
the
you said?
triumphs, your
Oh,
wins, your
triumphs.
biggest wins,
Yes.
in your
So
your
so
competing?
so there were quite a few.
Mm-hmm,
But believe it or not, the game changer came from a loss.
mm-hmm,
So like in track and field, I mean, I've won championships in every sport I've played. So volleyball, basketball, baseball. I lied. I didn't win one in soccer,
mm-hmm,
and and I won many awards in track and field. But the game changer for me was my senior year in track. I was undefeated in the high jump. I was undefeated in the triple jump. And
mm-hmm,
so going into the state meet, I was seated first, and I easily should have won. But this is the one time where doubt got into my head because
mm-hmm.
it had rained overnight, and I'm not blaming my dad by any means, but my dad got me the wrong size spikes. So I needed quarter-inch spikes, and he got me eighth-inch spikes. Because hindsight being 2020, I could have borrowed somebody else's spikes, but
Mhm,
but I didn't. I was a 17-year-old 17-year-old hothead, and so on my first jump in the high jump, my foot slipped and I fell, and then I let that get into my head,
mhm.
and so I ended up with third. And the way track and field works, it doesn't matter what happens the rest of the season. All state is decided by your performance in that meet.
Oh,
Even though I went undefeated, broke three records, I was still pushed down to the third team all state. And that bothered me for a very long time. Like
mm,
I want to say I was early 30s
mhm,
before I was able to finally let that go.
mhm.
But that's where I got into the storytelling,
Okay.
and that's a big part of what I think we're gonna discuss today
Mhm,
is the power in telling your story. So I went back and I revisited that moment, and it may not sound like a big deal to some people, but I trained for that moment. I trained years to earn that title and to earn that level of all state, and so trying to trying to navigate through that wasn't easy.
mhm,
It wasn't easy at all. And so the following year, I actually made it to All American status, but then I ended up getting injured at the Nationals, and
mm,
those two events like haunted me.
mhm,
Because like I said, I'm very competitive. So when you set a goal and you don't reach the goal, it hurts you to your core, like to your soul.
mhm,
And so now where I made the switch was I was focusing on me. I would just focus on me, being let down, not reaching that, and not realizing there's all types of teachable moments in there that I can use from those experiences to help other people, especially other athletes.
Mm,
So now as I'm coaching, and I can go to these athletes and let them know, I could have had this, but I got in my head. It's like you're in your head right now.
mm,
So I take my experience and try to motivate and inspire this next generation of athletes to not make the same mistake I made.
mm. And what happens in life is that there are so many things we can do, and so many things that we have control over. But then things happen in our lives where we have no control over. The cards are dealt to us that we've got to play, despite them being the odd ones out. And
Yes.
I admire the steps that you've made from those experiences, from those losses, and then that loss that you uh, hit your, I mean, you hurt your knee, and you had to come out shining and taking it to be a story to tell
Yes.
and inspire people and move them from a point of pain into a point of power. And I like that. I like that.
Yes. And and so those two events
Mhm.
actually helped me for what was to come next.
Yeah.
Right? So, and I took maybe about a 10-year absence from track and field. Started managing restaurants, became a dad. I have 5 of my own kids now.
Mhm.
And I wanted to recapture myself because working in a restaurant, it's not easy,
Yeah.
especially when you're the manager. And
Mhm.
I was kitchen manager and general manager for a while, and everything flows through you. So there's not a lot of downtime. Whenever there's problems that come into you, and I'm a happy-go-lucky type, and
Mhm.
unless I'm in competition, like if I'm in competition, then the beast comes out. But in everyday life, I like to have fun. I like to joke around and just laugh. And so, just sometimes as a manager, you can't. You have to be stern. Sometimes you have to let people go. And, it's like I didn't like that aspect of it because I had to become someone I wasn't. So I was like,
Mhm.
I want to get back to my athletic roots. So I started training. This was right around the time when P90X came out. And
Mhm.
so I bought P90X. And this was before I got into being a fitness coach.
Mhm.
So I bought that, and I was almost all the way through it when I had my first track meet. And so I get out there, it's the Masters Championships. I was 32, 34, somewhere around there, early 30s.
Mhm.
And so I'm doing the long jump. I win the long jump, but I kind of tweaked my right quad a little bit. And so we get over to the high jump now. I have my age bracket won, but there was one more person still jumping, but he was 45.
Mhm.
Right? So now, technically, I won my age bracket. He won his age bracket, but I wanted to beat him. I was like, I want to beat everybody out here. I want to leave no doubts. Right?
Mhm.
So I was like, all right, let me jump. Let me jump again. I go, I run, I jump, and I felt a little tug in my left knee. So now
Mhm.
this was the knee that I hurt in the nationals, 12 years prior. And
Mhm.
so every now and then it flares up like it's tendonitis. So so I was like, all right, no big deal. Like he goes, he jumps, he misses it, but I
Mhm.
could I could tell he was spent. So I said to my now ex, I was like, throw me the tape. I said, I think he's done. I said, I'm gonna take one more and we'll put this out of reach. And she
Mhm.
even said to me, she's like, you don't have to jump. And I was like, yes, I do. And this next jump changed my entire world.
Mhm.
Right? So I get up there. It really is something like out of like a novel or something. Just the way this played out, because everything was perfect. The temperature was perfect. There was a minimal wind. Like high jump in a pole vault, people tend to flock to because I like an audience.
Mhm.
So there's people all around the high jump pit. Like I said, it couldn't have asked for a better setting. And then I run down to do my approach. I plant to jump. I saw white, and then I'm on the ground.
Mhm.
So I'm like, once I come to, because it was like, how like you those dots in front of your eyes. So
Mhm.
it's like, my eyes went blurry for a second, and then when I came to, I looked down, and my kneecap wasn't there.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was like, my kneecap had shifted about this far up my quadricep.
Mm.
So I had a full patella tendon rupture plus some other stuff in there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the athletic trainer comes running over. Now I couldn't feel any of that, thank God. So I felt that I probably would have went into shock, but it went instantly numb. So
Mm-hmm.
the athletic trainer comes over, and I told her I already yelled for my now ex to call an ambulance because I had my hands like this over my knee, so she couldn't see what was happening. And
Mm-hmm.
so she's like, oh, I don't think you're gonna need an ambulance. And I moved my hands, and she's like, oh my God. It's like it was so bad. But where it all changed is now I'm in the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and the ER doctor comes in. He removes the brace that the EMTs put on, and without missing a beat, he says, "You will never run or jump again."
Mm.
Now, I told you I'm a competitor,
Mm-hmm.
right? Told you I have 5 kids,
Yeah.
and so all my kids were little at this point,
Mm-hmm.
and so I start crying. I look up at my ex, and she's got tears in her eyes because she knows what like I need my body.
Mm-hmm.
And but at that moment, I looked back at the doctor and I said, "You don't have the right to tell me what I can heal from."
Yeah.
I was like, "This is my story to write. This
Mm-hmm.
this this isn't your story to write." Because I heard an interview with Les Brown. He was diagnosed with cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in a mastermind group that he was a guest speaker for when he said this. He said his doctor came in and basically said that they've exhausted everything that they can do in his fight with cancer. So he says, "So you're telling me I'm going to die?" He's like, "That's not for me to say." He says, "On a medical level, we've done what we can do. What how long you live is between you and God."
Mm-hmm.
And so like I went at this with that same mentality. I said, so you can tell me I'll never run or jump again, but I don't have to listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I was supposed to rehab for a year and a half. I went through physical therapy. Now, the first 2 weeks was rough because his words were still swirling around in my head. I mean, I am human,
Yeah.
so like with each step, it was very, very painful, very painful. Like I was in the hospital 2 days longer than I should have been post surgery because the
Mm-hmm.
pain was just insane. And so just going home, my twin boys were 4 months at the time. So we had to have a babysitter come to the house while my ex went to work. But she had to help me too. So here I am, I'm 34 years old. I have a walker, a walker is, and, just the thought that what if this guy's right? And then everything changed when I went for my first follow up appointment where the doctor told me I can start putting pressure on my foot. So I went there with crutches. So I
Mm-hmm.
start putting pressure, start putting more pressure, started, walking with both crutches. Then I put down one crutch, then I put down the other crutch.
Mm-hmm.
and I just started walking. I was like, I probably could have did this a week ago. It's like, and I get it. The doctors have to err on the side of caution, but I was like, I definitely could have walked a week ago. And
Uh-huh.
so I was like, from here on out, I'm writing my own prescriptions. It's like within reason. I'm not suggesting to people to not listen to your doctor. I'm just sharing what I did. And so each step of the way, they gave me minimum things to do, but they never said maximum.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when I tell you, I was rehabbing all day, from stretching to the electric stim to just everything I could do, just strengthening my hips. I was like, I'm making a full comeback. And so now we fast forward. This was I think 5 months, 5 months past that, right? Because this was in no, it must have been longer because it was getting warm again.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try to run. And I tried, and granted, I looked like a newborn giraffe, but I ran. It's like I ran about 50 yards.
Yeah.
And at that moment, it's like I'm making a full comeback. It's like I'm making a full comeback. It's like because it's not about what happened,
Mm-hmm.
it's about how you bounce back from it.
Oh.
And so when I'm working with people in creating their stories and helping them tell their stories, so many people are stuck on the what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I said it's not about what happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's about what 1 second after it happened through today. It's
Mm.
like that's the story. But so I got into to obstacle racing. Shortly after. In that time, I also donated a kidney to my sister, but that's a separate story.
Okay.
So those two surgeries, and then I got into obstacle course racing. Like that was where I first started to push it. Like I had a special brace made for my knee in case I slid or anything. But I wasn't ready to get back on the track yet. Because that was the thing. It's like I have to at some point get back on the track or else the injury still wins.
Mm.
Even though I'm back playing basketball, I'm back playing volleyball, I'm jumping again. But that was still lingering. It's like, what if I jump again and now I need a knee replacement?
Mm.
In my 30s.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I still let that linger. And then so with the kidney donation, for donors and recipients, there's an Olympic style competition called the Transplant Games.
Okay.
And so remember earlier I said I'm competitive. I had dreams, I had Olympic dreams. And so it's like maybe this is the second chance.
Mm.
So like it's not gonna be like the big games, but at least it's a second chance to at least kind of get that feeling. And
Mm.
so I was like, you know what? 2016. I'm going to go to Cleveland. I'm going to compete in the Transplant Games. And that was more so just to finish the story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like I got hurt on the track, but I was able to get back out there. Kind of like Tiger Woods yesterday, getting back out on the golf course after that horrific crash last year.
Mm.
Like it's about everything coming full circle.
Yeah.
And so I get out there. I took second in the long jump. I took third in the 100 meters, and I did both of those with a pulled quad.
Whoa.
But I ended up winning the high jump.
Ah.
The one thing that I was afraid to do, like I was just gonna take one jump and call it quits. But I was like, I took the one jump. I felt good, and then next thing I was the last man standing. And again, it goes in age brackets. I beat them all.
Oh.
I beat the teens. I beat the 20-somethings. I beat the 30-somethings. It's like I beat them all. I was like, wow. And I share that not in a bragging sense. It was because I was doubting myself all these years.
Mm.
So once I dropped that doubt, I was able to get back to my full potential, even after those two major surgeries.
Mm.
And so then it really came full circle because there's also a World Transplant Games. And I was selected to represent Team USA, which is what I wanted to do in the other Olympics.
Whoa, beautiful.
So granted, COVID took that away, but still, just the fact that it's like I'm on Team USA. It's like talk about a dream come true.
Uh-huh.
And then so now when you tell the story, you go back to where the doctor said you'll never run or jump again.
Mm.
And I think back, I've done probably closing in on 200 races now. Between track meets and obstacle races. I did a 30-mile Spartan Ultra. I ran a half marathon. I've done multiple. Oh yeah, it's Spartan Ultra. I've done multiple Spartan races, obstacle course races, challenges, and it's just insane. And it's like, had I let that person control my thoughts, I wouldn't have been able to accomplish the things that I have.
Mm. Yeah, and I know there's someone who's listening to this or watching this and might have given up because of an occurrence, something that happened in his life or her life that was so challenging. And your story gives this person a new perspective, which means that if you're down, you don't have to remain down. You can face up and jump high.
Yes, yeah, and the big thing is to not let other people clip your wings.
Okay.
It's like even though I talk about my journey through it, the biggest thing that I can stress is letting somebody else tell you what you're capable of.
Mm-hmm.
As that doctor tried to with me, and granted, that's his profession. I get it. but you did not study Rob Foster's Will to Succeed.
Mm. Yeah, because many people are going to judge you based on your education, based on where you come from, based on your color, based on your height, weight,
Yeah,
or whatever you name it. And
exactly.
they will tell you that you can't do it because of this, that, or whichever. But you've got
Yeah.
to remember that you are made complete and you're able to accomplish anything that you put your mind to. Because as Napoleon Hill said, whatever your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve.
Yes. Yeah. It goes back to that saying too. If you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right.
Then you're right.
And,
So,
and it's true. It's like once I took those first steps in running, I was
mhm,
like, I'm making a comeback. And then with that first meet, winning the high jump, I've
mm,
been undefeated since I
mm,
got back on the tracks. Since
mm,
2016, I have not lost the high jump
that's beautiful.
or the long jump. Truth be told.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Now, in your story, you talk about your ex. You're talking about 5 kids, but then you're talking about your ex. How is this?
Well, I am now a single parent of said five children. Well,
Mm-hmm,
my two older kids were from I was married in early 2000, so I had my oldest son and my oldest daughter with her, but I have well they're adults now, but I had full custody of them.
mm-hmm,
So they were always with me. And then I was in a 13-year relationship. You can call it a marriage, but we never got married. But we were 13 years, and then I had my younger daughter and then my twin boys.
mm-hmm,
So I had 50-50 custody with her.
mm-hmm. Then, so now you have some young ones. You have two old, I mean, adult children, and you have three young ones. And
Yeah, well, the young ones, my daughter is 15 and my twins are 13. So they're
okay,
not like little.
uh-huh. But you're remarried again.
Oh no, I'm single.
You're still, oh yeah, I had that. That escaped me. But it's okay. How do you manage it? That's interesting. How do you manage it?
I tell people it's no different than having two kids. You're just adding three more. So it's like you feed one, you feed five. You buy clothes for two, you buy clothes for five. You just make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no real secret to it because people always ask that like, oh, I could never. Like if you had five, you could.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have a choice.
Uh-huh.
It's like you just have to prioritize it. But
Mm,
that was a big reason why I left the restaurant industry because I couldn't go to some of the school functions, or I'd show up to the sports games all late because something happened at the restaurant and I couldn't leave on time.
mm-hmm.
So the biggest thing with having a big family is that you got to have time available.
Mm. Yeah.
If you don't have time available, then the other parent's going to get run down. I mean, I'm by myself now, but I mean, just in the two-family household,
Mm,
having that many kids, having time available is key.
mm. So how was the transition, if I may ask, from being the manager into whatever you moved into? You're going to tell us.
Well, the transition it was gradual because being an athlete, I like I knew how to train myself, and so I was like, let me just work out with a couple of friends and just see how this goes.
Mm,
And so I have a garage, and I didn't get the handyman gene. So I gutted it out and I turned it into a gym. And again, it was more so just for me because I was bringing the stress of the restaurant home,
mm-hmm,
and snapping at my ex, snapping at the kids. It's like just was very irritable depending on how stressful the day was there. So I would come home, say hi, go in the garage, and let off some steam. So then I'd come back in more relaxed, more calm, more focused. So I could focus on the family.
mm-hmm,
And so I was like, well, I have all the space. It's like, maybe I should train a couple people, make a couple bucks on the side. And so I started training one and started training one. And then the two jumped to 14 like overnight. And then it just grew and grew and grew. Next thing you know, I had 40 clients training out
mm,
of my garage.
mm-hmm,
So truth be told, I actually started training in the spare bedroom. Yeah,
mm,
so I actually got people to come to my house and work out in my spare bedroom. And so then I moved to the basement. Then I gutted out the garage once the basement wasn't enough space.
mm-hmm,
So I got to the point where I was making similar money, training
Mm-hmm.
12 hours a month. 'Cause I was only doing 3 classes a week, 3 1 hour classes a week. And right, yeah, it was Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. So
Mm-hmm.
12 hours a month versus 60 hours a week, 240 hours a month, And so here's just 3 hours a week, 60 hours a week. But when you have a house, when you have cars, when you have 5 children, it's tough to walk away from the guaranteed income.
Mm-hmm.
And again, and I shared that story because I know that there's people right now that are in a career that they no longer want to be in, but they feel trapped because of the money, the benefits, or pension, or whatever else is built into it.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the universe intervened and I lost my management job. So never been fired before a day in my life. I was totally blindsided. We
Mm-hmm.
came off one of the best profit weeks in a long time. Like payroll was low, food cost was low. We passed our health inspection. Like everything was good. It was a good week. And this guy comes in right after the lunch rush to the jerk. So he let me work first, and then he comes in and fires me once everything is slow. Well, he tells me that we're moving in a different direction. He hands me my last check. And I was mad at first, like I said, 'cause I'd never been fired. It's like kind of a blow to the ego.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then I was like, you know what? I was like, thank you. I shook his hand, thanked him for the opportunity. Went cleared out my office and I left. And so, funny part, well, to me, I called my ex. Now my ex, she was pregnant with the twins at this point,
Mm-hmm.
7.5 months pregnant, I believe, 7 months pregnant, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, good news. And she's like, what? I said, I lost my job. And she's like, what? She lost her for a second. What do you mean this is good news? I was like, yeah, but you hated my hours. You hated that I was constantly coming home stressed. And I think I'm making enough money right now with fitness to where we can keep moving, without a hitch.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was not the case. So I ended up filing for unemployment. And that took almost 3 months to come through.
Okay.
So like I had to hustle fierce just to stay above water, to the point to where I had to go and get on food stamps. And I'll never forget the conversation with my father, because he was advising me to go do it. And I was like, no. I was like, I've been working since I was 12 years old. I was like, I'm not getting on food stamps. And my dad he's like, Robert, you've been paying taxes for X amount of years, like for almost 2 decades. He's like, you're just getting your money back.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you put it that way. So I ended up going down, applying for food stamps and for childcare.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we ended up getting both. But what I did with that was I got my fitness certifications.
Uh-huh.
So I got personal trainer certified, I got group fitness certified.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was able to actually work on the things I needed to work on to grow this fitness business, because I didn't graduate college. It's like I graduated high school. I finished, I think, a semester and a half of college.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because when I hurt myself, my Olympic dreams were dashed, and I went into a depression.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did not want to be in school. So I ended up leaving school. But like I said, I was managing restaurants. So I just shifted right over into that.
Mm-hmm.
And so with this fitness thing, I'm sure you've heard of imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Is I start thinking, like, can I do this? It's like, do I have to go back to school? It's like, do I need like a exercise science degree or something? And like, I don't know about marketing. And then I started thinking, you've been managing restaurants for well over a decade. I was like 15 years. Like you were doing hiring, you were doing firing, you were doing sales forecasting, you were doing inventory, you were calculating payroll costs, you were calculating cost of goods sold, sales forecasting. I think I said that already. Doing income statements and all this stuff. I'm like you know more about business than you think you do. So I
Mm-hmm.
just sat down and just started, writing out a game plan. It's like, how can I grow this? And because what I didn't want to do was to go into debt opening up a studio. Like, so where a lot of gym owners go wrong. They end up putting themselves like 6 figures in debt trying to get all this fancy equipment, but then you open and you have no clients. You know, so it's like now you have all this overhead and no one to help pay. I said, so we're gonna reverse engineer this thing because I already have 40 clients. I said, so let me encourage them to refer friends and coworkers and stuff. And this was right around the time when Groupon and Living Social started popping up. This was in 2011, I believe. And so I tripled my client base literally overnight. So I ran a Living Social deal, and like 150 something people bought it, and about 120 of them showed up. You know, so spread out throughout the week. So I went from having 6 people in class to like 30 people in class. I was like, wow. And so now I was renting space from an existing location.
Yeah.
Rather than just going in to get my own. And so I remember talking to my mom. I was like, you know what? I'm going to open up my own gym. And she's like, how? I'm like, I don't know. Because I really didn't have savings. I didn't have the best credit. But I had a vision. All right. That's one of the big things I talk about in any of my intro videos that I send out. I always talk about the clarity of vision. So I had my notebook and I sketched out. I use sketch loosely because I suck at drawing, but I sketched out what I wanted my gym to look like. And then I just left it there because now isn't the time, but I knew what I wanted. And so now I get a business coach to help me focus on the things I don't want to do because, I like to do all the fun stuff. Like, I don't want to do all the back office stuff. So like, I need someone to hold me accountable. So I went and got a business coach to make sure I'm working on the business stuff that I need to be working on. And so with that, again, the classes just kept growing and kept growing to the point where 2 of my clients approached me. Well, one of my clients approached me first. And I think I had 41 people in this class at 7:30 at night. Now that's not prime fitness time, 7:30. Usually it's like 4:30, 5:30, 6:30. But I had 41 people in class, and he comes to me. He's like, Rob, he's like, why don't you have your own place? And I said, poor choices, 10 years ago are haunting me now. I'm like, that's why, truth be told. And so he's like, I'm gonna talk to my friend, and maybe we can help you. And so we decided to meet up, kind of had like a Shark Tank style of grilling. They were just all over me with the numbers and stuff. And I had done just right around 80,000, I want to say, with just 2 classes a day. I had a class at 10 o'clock and a class at 7:30. That's it. So they looked at that and they saw the potential. And so they decided to invest in me. And we opened up a 5,000 square foot facility. So now when we were going through, we were looking at different places, different areas. We walked into this one, and when I tell you, this place was a dump. It was an absolute dump. Like, the front room, it smelled. There was this dirty carpet. It used to be a call center, so there were like just holes all in the wall with all these cords and stuff. But I looked at it. And I went back to what I sketched out, and the layout was perfect, right? So I walk in there, and I looked at my 2 partners. I said, this place is perfect. One of them looked at me like I had 5 heads. He was like, this place is perfect? I'm like, I'm telling you, it's perfect. And then I just started saying what I had written down. It was like, I wanted a small room up front to be welcoming. That way people aren't intimidated, because I do a pretty intense style of training. And in the place where I was renting from, it was just a big open warehouse. So you walk in the door and you see this big monkey bar tower, and you see these 20-foot climbing ropes, and people walk in and their eyes go to the stuff they can't do yet. Right? That is human nature. Like, if I hand you a meal plan, you're going to look at all the foods you don't like. Right? So I didn't want that in my gym. So I want people to come in, feel comfortable. We can have a consultation, and then I can take them in the back and show them all the other stuff, but like I've already taken steps to earn their trust.
Okay.
So that's what I want. I'm like, this place is perfect, and we built it. We built it out,
Mm-hmm.
and so the goal was to make 100 grand for the year, and we made it in May. It's like we opened up in January, but it's like we did it in May.
In May.
And when you're working a job, making $100,000 seems like it's so difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So difficult,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really not. It's like once I went from just those two classes a day up to six, and it's like people would just come in droves. I was like, this is insane. It really is. Like, this is insane. But one thing I caution people is you have to define what success means to you. So even though it was great, I employed 7 other trainers. My ex and I, we were working together there. Like, she left her job to work with me in the facility. Like, my kids were my birthday party team. Because like we did birthday parties on the weekends. But
Mm-hmm.
like it got so big that it started to not be fun. And that's what I didn't want. So in 2017, the lease was up over there, so we had to move. So like I ended up downsizing,
Mm.
and it's like, yeah, it's not bringing in as much revenue, but I'm way happier. So like people always say money doesn't buy happiness, and they're not wrong.
Sure.
they're
Okay.
not wrong at all. It's like you see very well off people with drug problems or alcoholics. They're promiscuous. Like, there's so many things that people use to escape the pressures of their success.
Mm.
So that's why I tell people, like, what does it mean to you? For me, it means being available for anything that my kids need.
Mm. Now,
So
when you say that it lost the fun, I mean, what do you exactly mean? Was it taking much more of your time? I mean, much stress, more taxes, or what? What exactly?
well, the overhead was one thing.
Okay.
Having business partners was another.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, all this money sounds good, gross. Gross $280,000. Yeah, but that's not net.
Uh-huh.
It was like when you're done paying the lease and paying the staff, and then whatever's left over was split between myself and the business partners. So it's like, after doing all of that, I'm making a little more than I was making as a restaurant manager.
Mm-hmm.
And having that many clients, the phone doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Doesn't stop at all. And with fitness, you have to make yourself available, because it's
Mm-hmm.
like you're not the only gym.
Yeah.
So if they call you and you don't answer, they're gonna call the next one on the list.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
like I'd be out to dinner with the kids, and with the kids and my ex, and the phone's just vibrating and vibrating. And there were times where I'd have to actually get up and take the call. She's like, "You're taking a call now?" I'm like, "They're calling now." Like, if people are ready now, I have to take the call. So
Mm-hmm.
just things like that just added pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So it ended up putting a strain on the relationship, and I was still able to make it, I'd say, to probably 90% of all of the kids' things, because
Mm-hmm.
I could schedule trainers to cover me, so I could be where I needed to be. But it was just that, and then just all the back office stuff, just the doing the meal plans and the weigh-ins, and it doesn't sound like it's a big deal, but when you have 90 people doing a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
it's tedious, it's time consuming, and tracking everything. Like, it was just on such a large scale
Mm-hmm.
that I just didn't want to do it. Like I was saying earlier about having a business coach to help me do the things I don't want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all of that stuff. Like, being in the gym,
Mm.
that's my wheelhouse. Like, being with the athletes, that's my wheelhouse. Like, the back office stuff just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah. And one thing I like about this story is that the fact that from the beginning, like many people who are listening to this or watching it, so many times we underestimate the potential that we have.
Yes.
But what actually happens once we get started, one thing leads to another, into another, until you find yourself that you've grown to an extent that is enormous, some place that you may not have imagined before.
Yes.
So taking an action over something that you have a vision about is very important, I believe.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so like it was nothing within the gym.
Mm-hmm.
I loved being in there. I loved having the big classes because
Mm-hmm.
remember I said a while ago I like an audience.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the bigger the class, the better. And as a kid, I always wanted to be a DJ. So like I had a DJ speaker in there. I had a microphone. Like it was like a performance every
Yeah.
time in there. It was like a performance. It wasn't just a workout.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that aspect I miss. It was just once I leave the gym, all the stuff I have to do to keep everything afloat. Like that's the part that didn't become fun.
Mm-hmm. Now, so you downsized. You went to a smaller facility, and what led to the separation? That you talked about the strain on the relationship. I guess with your ex. Where did it all come to an end, and you parted ways? If you
Well,
may,
when
comfortable.
well when we met, we were both working in a restaurant, so we had that in common.
Mm-hmm.
And so she wanted to go become a medical assistant.
Okay.
So she went back to school. She got that certification, then she got into that field. And so just the conversation just started changing a little because like I don't care about that industry. It's like I want to hear you talk, but I really can't. Like some of the things you see in a hospital, like I don't care to hear about. Just some of those things. Like somebody coming in on a stretcher after an accident. I don't want to talk about that.
Uh-huh.
So like our communication just started getting lower and lower, and then once she stopped working at the gym, it's like we just completely just grew apart. It just
Mm-hmm.
happens.
Okay. Yeah. Things happen. But the thing is that whatever happens, life goes on and you're moving on with your life.
Yes.
And because we are just about getting off time,
Okay.
let's hear about why you are the host and not the guest. And that's why you are used. You are used to.
All right. So this was in right around 2010, 2011. There
Mm,
was a platform called Blog. Actually, I think it's still out there, Blog Talk Radio. And
yeah.
so I hosted a show there called Shut Up and Exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was just about because so many people make excuses when it comes to fitness. Like, oh, I don't have time. I don't have the money, or I have kids, and there's just always some nonsense why they can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I say it's nonsense because if you want to, you can find time. People can find time to go on vacation. Like you can't find time to work out for 45 minutes a day, or even 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
So now we fast forward, and I have the fancy lights. I have the green screen, and I bought those things, but I wasn't doing anything with it. So I had done a couple episodes, and I shifted it because I don't want to just talk about fitness. So I
Mm-hmm.
want to talk about other things. So like just how the things I learned being a restaurant manager, I use them in the gym. The same processes to get the gym going. Now, the same way I help people get in shape, whether they want to run faster, lose weight, build muscle, there's a process. So I take that process and help people create stories. And so just the way just the way I had to learn, because I used to just get up and just talk you know, like I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't actually telling a story. And so I went to a speaker boot camp are you familiar with Eric Thomas?
Yeah, Eric Thomas.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I know him.
Yeah, he's a motivational speaker. So he hosted a speaker boot camp down in Atlanta.
Uh-huh.
And I went there in 2017. And so there were 41 people in the boot camp. And so I'm like, I'm gonna outshine all of these people. So
Uh-huh.
I was just getting into speaking in schools and stuff. And so it's my turn to talk. Now they only gave us 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see, I can talk. So I tried to stuff as much into the 10 minutes as I could.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't the best tactic. So delivery wise, I feel like I was ahead of everyone else there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm flying back home. I land in Boston, driving back down here to Rhode Island. and the phone rings, and it's Eric Thomas's CEO,
Mm.
CJ. So he thanked me for coming down. He says, out of everyone there, he says, you are by far the most polished speaker. And I was like, yeah. But then he paused. And it's never good when there's a pause.
Mm.
So he goes, but I'm like, oh boy. He says, you're my most frustrating type of student. And I was like, okay. I was like, I'm all ears. And he said, because I got up there and I just told what happened to me. Like I didn't really pull people into the story. Kind of like when I was telling the story about my kneecap, and your face, you were like, ooh. It's like you want to tell it in a way to where the audience can feel it.
Mm.
And I was like, okay. I was like, all right, I got you. So I just went back and I revisited all of the things that happened to me, from the knee injury to the not making it to the Olympics. I just went to everything. I was like, what are the teachable moments in these things? So you fast forward to my podcast,
Mm-hmm.
right? I just had to share that part because it'll make this part make more sense.
Yeah.
So now I started having guests on my show, and I did my, the stereotypical send me talking points, and so I'm doing my show. I'm going over the talking points. I'm like, this is boring. It's like I want to know you before you got here.
Mm-hmm.
Before you got to where you are. Because people, they just want to get right to the good stuff. I wrote four books. I have a 6-figure business, and I have my dream home. And okay, no. Who were you 1 year prior to all that?
Yeah.
like I want to pick up the story from that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so I switched up how I do my podcast, and now it's more about storytelling. So
Okay.
when I came across yours, I like that the now tell us. I was like, like that seems along the lines of what I'm best at. It's like I don't want to answer pre-written questions.
Okay.
Like I want you to hear what I have to say, and then ask me questions based on what I said.
And
Not
so far.
yes, and not go to the next question. So I switched up the entire format of my show,
Mm-hmm.
and I love it now because in the beginning, people were kind of caught off guard because I just switched that. Like I told the first guest that we're not using the talking points. She's like, oh, okay. And so the very first question I said, so how would you describe yourself? And she was like, she's like, that's a really good question. I'm like, how can you not describe yourself? Like you've been you your entire life. And so through that, I created a program called Speak About Yourself Out Loud.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps people become, introduce themselves better, become better interviewees or interviewers.
Okay.
People wanna, if they have to give presentations or something like that. So it teaches them how to talk about themselves, but splice it into the story.
Mm.
So from those two events, I created the Shut Up and Grind podcast, and so. And now it's like I believe we're heard in 35 different countries now.
Okay.
And when I first started, I'm like, why are people going to listen to me? You got Joe Rogan out there. You got these Hollywood stars that have podcasts, these professional athletes that have podcasts. Like, who's going to listen to me? But then it's like, if I don't do this, no one will. So I just got started, we're just organically growing the audience. Like I haven't put a cent into marketing it. It's just, I do like you. I stream on my 2 Facebook pages and I stream onto YouTube. And then I just share them, the guests share them. And then I do panels where I bring back 5 of my former guests. And we just have roundtable discussions over a particular topic. Like I'm collaborating with 3 of them. We're going to put on a speaking event later this year. So it's like you just never know what can come from speaking to each guest, but speaking to them from the heart versus off of pre-written questions.
And that's beautiful. It takes us back to where we were talking about us doubting ourselves, right?
Yes.
Action, and from that action, into something that you may not have imagined. This someone who's listening to this, and you may have a dream inside of you. You've got to come out and achieve that dream, and you've got to stop doubting yourself. Take that action, and that action is going to lead you to the. And the action that could be very important right now is reaching out to Robert B. Foster and asking him to guide you your way out of your.
I love that.
Yeah. So why? How can we reach to you? And now you with the trainings, how do you do these trainings? Now you speak about yourself out loud, the program. How do you do it?
Yeah, it's completely virtual. So we would link up just like this.
Mm-hmm.
People tell me, like, I just ask them questions, and they go through, and from all those answers we build the story. And so for some people, they just want to face their past.
Mm-hmm.
For other people, they want to share their story. And
Yeah.
I know we're almost done, so I'll share quick. There was a woman that I heard, she did an Instagram live. She is a heart attack survivor and a stroke survivor, so in her 30s. And so I was just listening to her share her story on the Instagram live. And I reached out to her because I was like, I can help you better tell that story if you like. I said, I know you don't know me, but I heard you. And I just feel that there's more power there that we can tap into. And so, like, I did a couple lives with her. And long story short, she's now the local face of the American Heart Association.
Oh.
So it's like you'll never know where sharing your story will lead.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. That's what we're talking about. So don't hold it in you again. Whoever you're listening, whoever is listening to us right now, don't hold it any longer. Just come out and speak out. And
Yes.
your story could be that light that someone out there is waiting
Yes.
to move around some dark places and come out shining. So why
Absolutely.
not to get a direction on how to tell it from Robert and just tell it? Just do it. Just do it.
Yes, and to add just one last thing,
Mhm.
because you had said to just get started. I just want to just add on.
Yeah.
Just start ugly, right? Start ugly. Again, I started my gym in my spare bedroom. I got women to come to my house to train in my spare bedroom for fitness. You know what I mean? So it's like, go with what you have. If you're passionate about what you do, people will come to you.
Mm.
It's like I didn't start even when we opened the 5,000 square foot facility. We didn't start with everything. I think we had 2 medicine balls. We had maybe 4 or 5 kettlebells. We had some generic sandbags, and then over time we added. And over time we add. Now I have a full arsenal of equipment, but we did it over time. It's like you don't have to thrust yourself into debt. Everything doesn't have to be perfect for you to start. Just start and let it organically build.
Start ugly. Yo, what a beautiful statement. Start ugly. Just get started. So, how can people reach you?
Okay, well, right now my website is under construction, but it's robertbfoster.com. So that should be done shortly. And then you can find me on Facebook, same thing, at Robert B. Foster. On Instagram, I'm just going to add a couple underscores. It's Robert_B_Foster.
Oh, so many underscores.
My name is common, so.
Okay, so we are going to tag your Facebook at the moment on the show so that people can get connected to you on Facebook. And we never know where we go.
Yes.
So it's been such a great honor to have you with us. So we wish you all success, as we wish all the listeners all the success in life. And I am reminding you, for those of you who may not have connected to me, to go and download your Achieve Your Dream workbook from anthonymoirore.com. Don't forget that. So I wish that you achieve your dream. I wish, Robert, that you achieve your big dream, however it is. And it's been an honor, quite a big honor to have you. To all the listeners or the ones who are watching, we appreciate you. We had some comments there, but they are in a language that I cannot decipher.
Okay.
That's something.
Oh, it says I want to learn English.
I wonder. Okay, that's what it says. So
Yes.
that's achievable.
Yep.
Puedo aprender inglés. Okay, that's
Yep.
what language is that?
That's Spanish.
Oh, Spanish. Okay, that's good. So it's been an honor to everyone, and thank you very much once again.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate
Right,
it.
and bye for now.
All right. Take care.
All right, take care.